What's going on, guys? It's Risk Instinct here, and today I'm going to be trying to up your tank game in Battlefield 1. This will be specifically targeting the light tanks, and the variant I'll be using is the flanker tank. Most of these tips will apply to all variants of it, but I use the flanker tank because that's my favourite. Before we move into the video, a bit of useless information for you. I do believe it was a French tank, the flanker tank, and it was made and used in battle at about 1917 to 1949, and it was set to weigh no more than 7 tons. Because they were going for power to weight ratio, and that was a convenient weight. I believe Renault actually covered about 52% of all of this tank's build, and then other companies were later joined in to help cover, because obviously you think back then that's a big order to fill. But anyhow, moving on. This video is mainly going to be targeting how to keep yourself alive with it. A few of the pros and cons. Now the pros that I'm looking at is, first one's not a real big one, but it's quieter. You might think, big whoop, I'm in a freaking tank, I don't need to be quiet, but you know, it can help. If you can catch people off guard, then that's just excellent, and will drastically improve your chances at it finishing them off instead of damaging a lot of people and they just get away. It has a rotating gun, which means you can watch your blind spots a lot easier. It's extremely good versus infantry, which is why I like it so much. It's smaller. Obviously, the bigger tank, the heavy tank, is a lot bulkier because it packs a lot more armor, which is one of the cons for this vehicle, is it has less armor. Another con is it's not great on hills. Sometimes you can get into a spot where people can sit in. It's not so much a blind spot because you can see them, but you just can't hit them. It's like a blind spot for the turret, I guess you'd say. It has one seat, so you can't carry anybody with you, and you've got to watch your own, like your blind spots yourself. You can't rely on anyone to be in the vehicle with you to help watch your sides and your rear. But you know, if you're with your squad, if you play with people, then they could be watching your rear for you. Or your team might do it, but I don't like chances because people don't like to cooperate these days. But one of my favourite ways to use this vehicle is, well, it's called a flanker tank. Use it to flank. Specifically targeting the flanker tank version, I try to avoid big tanks because obviously they pack a lot more damage and they've got more armour. That being said, there's an armour plate on the back of this vehicle which only takes 18 damage each time you get shot there. Now you do the math right now, 18 times 4, that's 72. 4 shots usually kills you. You're not going to die from 72 damage, assuming that you've repaired to full health if you took any damage before. 18 times 5, which is 5 shots. That's 90 damage, you're still not going to die. 6 hits to kill, in other words. Therefore, you're going to have significant time to get away, or at least pack a shitload of damage before you die. Especially if you're driving the original variant to it. This doesn't apply so much to the howitzer version because you can't turn the gun around to face the rear of the vehicle. Now, how do you use this to benefit you on the battlefield? Well, you could drive it backwards. It can be done. It's a little bit inconvenient, so I choose, if I'm going into a high traffic area or I'm going to be defensively sitting somewhere, I'll already have it facing backwards. But for the main part of driving, I'll usually drive it forwards and drop mines, because it packs anti-tank mines. I'll usually drop them on a zone where I know there's going to be heavy tanks. Even if you don't blow the tank up, then you're going to know that it's coming because you get the message that you've disabled its tracks. Now this is such a tactical advantage because facing this played out, as I said, it allows you to take 5 hits and still live. You can pack a significant amount of damage or make you get away. But not only that, the only way they're going to pack a great amount of damage to you is if they hit your turret, and I haven't had them disable my turret once yet, so that's a plus, I guess. They seem to usually target the front or the tracks, so if you face them backwards, like in previous Battlefield games, everyone tried to hit the rear end of the tank because that's where the critical spots were. So now they just think the same. It won't be long till everyone catches onto this and you'll see everybody driving the light tank backwards, and that's going to be pretty funny to watch, I've got to admit. Before we go on, here's a little did you know. Did you know that the first 150 of these tanks were actually only used for training purposes? The way I like to use it is like flanking, as I said, or defending a zone. Specifically, I'll usually get to the area where I wish to defend and then turn it around and sit there. If you know there's going to be a ton of infantry that keep cutting across on a specific part of the map that's really small and difficult, otherwise difficult to get in a tank. Although this tank might fit down there, which there's a pretty good chance because this thing can go into some pretty small spots. Don't chase them down there, just sit and cut them off, it's a better option. you'll get a lot more kills and better defend whatever you're trying to defend. Because if you rush in there, yeah, you might get 2 or 3, but I guarantee after the first or second time, you're just going to eat a fuckload of anti-tank grenades, and that's really going to mess up your tank. Ideally, if you squad it up with people that you usually play with, try to get them to run a heavy tank with it, and you can pretty much control the map so long as your skill is up to par. But just by using these simple methods, that can help increase your kills dramatically. Another thing you got to try to remember is don't get overconfident. And what I mean by don't get overconfident, just because you can take 6 hits to the front before blowing up, that doesn't mean just drive up to a heavy tank and just start peppering the crap out of it. You know, you're smaller, you have a rotating gun, and I believe you're a little bit faster than the heavy tank. Use it to your advantage, get behind the heavy tanks, it takes them a lot more to turn around, you're a lot more nimble. Hit them from behind, and if you are squatted up with somebody, get them to pepper it while you've took their attention. Do the smart thing, play it smart, and it'll benefit you both in the long run. It'll benefit the whole team definitely. And so long as you keep up your repairs and a couple of the other tips that I mentioned, such as covering high traffic areas and putting down the anti-tank mines in zones where you know tanks can easily flank you, you pretty much have the map locked down and they can't do shit about it. It can be a little bit harder to do this solo, of course, but it can be done. All you got to do is use a bit of smarts and you can control the map quite easily. If you're not feeling confident to take on the tank after the mine, as I said, face that plate towards the tank after it's been hit by the mine, and there's a good chance you'll be able to do it, especially if you're using the first variant of the tank. You've disabled its tracks, it can't run from you, get behind it and finish it off that way. You know, it has guns on the back of it, but they're not going to do shit all to you. The main key part is avoiding that big cannon on the front. Anyhow, it's been Risky Instinct, hope you liked the video, and I'll see you in the next one.